At this point in my YouTube career, I've done over 100 videos at this point, and I don't think any of them have stressed me out this much. The Weeknd is one of my favorite artists of all time. I listen to his music religiously. I have purchased every single Weeknd album, every single Weeknd project that he's put out in his career. I even bought these after-hour trading cards, which I'll probably never really use. I just bought them because I thought they were cool. And the only thing that's stopping me from getting an EXO tattoo or an EXO t-shirt is that I'm light-skinned, and I already hear enough jokes about that. But the reason why I'm making this video is because we are finally getting closer to the Weeknd's next album, the final installment to this trilogy, Hurry Up Tomorrow. I've been a fan since 2011 when I first heard him on Drake's sophomore album, Take Care. So yes, I'm an old man. I cannot believe I've been listening to The Weeknd for 13 years. I was 17 years old when my life changed. And just so we're all clear, this isn't me being biased, but I don't think The Weeknd has a bad album. So any project that's rated low on my list, this doesn't mean that I think that it's bad. I just don't think it's better than some of his other projects. It really hurts me to put these albums against each other because they all mean so much to me. But let's just get straight to it. Coming in at number 9, Kissland. And again, I do not think this is a bad album. Do not attack me. I actually really like Kissland. I've been defending that album since 2013 because I remember when it first came out and people were calling it garbage. They were calling it trash. It wasn't like the trilogy. I've been riding for that album since day one. I remember that a lot of people did not like this album when it first came out because it seems like for some people, they felt like this was The Weeknd trying to become mainstream, which I never really agreed with, because if you listen to a single like Belong to the World, if you actually listen to what he's saying, it's the same Weeknd that we already loved from the original trilogy. I feel like as he progressed later into his career, he got better at finding that balance of still being able to have those dark lyrics that his original fan base loved, but then being smart enough to put it over more radio-friendly beats. Like a song like Belong to the World is about falling in love with a prostitute. But when this album came out and people were bashing it, it never made any sense to me, because a song like Professional is a great opener because, yeah, what's a somebody in a nobody town? But songs like The Town, Adaptation, Love in the Sky, Wonderlust, I Look, if you had the deluxe version back in the day. The title track, Kissland, is one of my favorite Weeknd songs of all time. I love this album, and I'm pretty sure I already pissed some people off, but Kissland comes in at number 9 for me, and I'm sure I'm going to piss even more people off because coming in at number 8, Thursday. I've had these types of conversations before, and people have always been mad at me that I don't have Thursday ranked higher, but I don't know, like out of that original trilogy, Thursday has always been my least favorite mixtape out of the 3 of them. And again, these aren't bad projects. These lower rated projects are still really good albums. I have Thursday and Kissland kind of on the same level, and the reason why this project doesn't come in last place is because I feel like it has higher highs. The first 2 tracks, Lonely Star and Life of the Party, never been a big fan. Thursday, the song, has always just been okay to me, but after that, he doesn't really miss. The Zone is classic Drake and The Weeknd, and a song that great is one of the main reasons why I'm pissed off that they're beefing, because if you've been paying attention to the news, I'm pretty sure it's no coming back with their relationship, allegedly, but we're never gonna get that OVO EXO project. I have been waiting for 13 years for that one project. The Birds Part 1, Part 2, Rolling Stone, which set his career off because it was the first time we actually saw what he looked like, Gone, in Heaven or Las Vegas. Man, I remember when I was in college and I was under the influence of some stuff, I was in my living room and we were playing Gone on repeat. Now that song is already 8 minutes long. I felt like I was on another planet. Thursday again was a really good album that comes in at number 8 for me. And now number 7, this one really hurt me because I wasn't really sure where to put this. Like, I moved this album up and down the list multiple times, but coming in at number 7, Dawn FM. The reason why I struggle with this album is because this is his newest project. I love this album. When this album first came out, I listened to that for like 2-3 weeks straight. But the reason why I struggle with it is because I still don't know how I feel with that compared to some of his older stuff. Dawn FM, in my opinion, is his most polished album, if that makes sense, if you get what I'm saying. Like, it just seems really high budget, just from the vocals to the production that he used. It just seemed overall really clean, and I'm saying that in a good way. It's also critically his best scoring album, while not being the most popular, because he debuted at number 2 behind Gunna, and if my memory is correct, I don't think he even hit 200,000 first week, which is crazy. I love the concept and the direction that he went for his music videos. I feel like The Weeknd in general is underrated in his storytelling because he makes great concept albums. Gasoline, How Do I Make You Love Me? I hated Take My Breath when I first heard it, but hearing it in the flow of the album, I love that song. It's an amazing song, especially that longer version that we got. Sacrifice, Out of Time, and Less Than Zero are some of my favorite Weeknd songs in general, and again, it sounds so polished and clean. And then Jim Carrey at the end with Phantom Regrets. I love this album. This album is so good to me. I wish more people appreciated this album. When I was originally making this list, this album was as high as number 3. So like I said, this album has me torn. If you ask me tomorrow, I might have a different opinion. But Dawn FM comes in at number 7, and coming in at number 6, Starboy. Starboy is still a surprising album to me because I've had a lot of conversations over the years with people that don't like this album, which is crazy to me. At the time, this was the Weeknd's most diverse album, fully embracing that mainstream pop era, and some people hated it, but I loved it. If you would have asked me 13 years ago if I thought that the Weeknd would be this big, giant star that he is today, I would say hell no, because I knew that that dark and moody music that I love from back in the day, I knew that would never translate to mainstream. But on this album, with songs like Starboy, False Alarm, Rockin', Secrets, True Colors, he really went to a completely new territory that at the time, we weren't really used to. For a lot of his older fans when this album came out, it was kind of jarring because it was so different from what we were used to from his older projects. But for me, as long as the music is good, I don't care. For me personally, I love and prefer that slower, darker music from him, but today he's one of the biggest artists in the world. He's sleeping with a bunch of A-list celebrities. He has every car that he wants to drive. He's no longer that homeless, depressed cokehead that he was 10 years ago. And I feel like when this album came out, it was kind of hard for some people to get over that. It's so many good songs on this album, like Sidewalks, Ordinary Life, which is one of my personal favorites, Die For You, I Feel It Coming. Like, it's so much good music on this album that I just never understood the hate. But I feel like for some people, that's kind of the thing that pushed them away from this album, because he was actually becoming mainstream and building, especially off of the momentum that we saw on Beauty Behind the Madness. And for some people, they don't like that. For some people, they want to gatekeep, they want to keep their favorites to themselves. But for me, as a supporter of The Weeknd, I want him to be as successful as possible. And for me, I'm just here for the music. So as long as the music is good and my favorite artist is successful, that's cool with me. But I love this album. Another great album by The Weeknd. And even though I do love that album, it comes in at number 6. And coming in at number 5 is a project that I almost didn't add to this list because I wasn't really sure how to rate it. But it was so good, I feel like I had to. So coming in at number 5, the EP, My Dear Melancholy. Bruh, when I tell you that I was going through some relationship struggles back in 2018 and that project got me through some dark times, nigga, the amount of times I was in my bedroom singing Call Out My Name is so embarrassing to even think about. But from start to finish, no misses. The only reason this album is lower on my list is because it's a shorter project, it's an EP, but this is one of those projects that from start to finish, if you just hit play and you walk away, you don't have to worry about changing anything. Songs like Try Me, Wasted Times, I Was Never There is one of my favorites, Hurt You, Privilege. I mean, somebody please help me. Where's the miss? And I feel like I can't talk about this album without giving a shout out to Selena Gomez, because she broke my man's heart, and then she had this fire project made about her. And what pains me the most is that Selena Gomez, I think she's like 2-3 years older than me or something like that. But when I was in high school, Selena Gomez was one of, if not the biggest crush that I had during that time. I used to watch Wizards of Waverly Place on mute just so I could see Alex Russo, Selena Gomez, and I could support my baby. I even saw that bum-ass Spring Breakers movie just to support her. And of course, the woman that I'm madly in love with would go on to get piped down by one of my favorite artists of all time. What are the odds of that? Now, critically, this wasn't his best album, but this 6-song EP sold like 170,000 in his first week or something like that, which is crazy. And every Weeknd fan that I know, they love this album. So for an album this great to come in at number 5, that just lets you know what I think about his catalog. And coming in at number 4, Echoes of Silence. And like I said earlier, at this point, I've been a fan of The Weeknd for about 13 or so years. And when I tell you that this mixtape hit my senior year of high school like some crack, and now the only song on this project that I don't like is The Initiation. I've never liked that song. Sorry if you like it, but after that, hit after hit. Dirty Diana is one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs, and The Weeknd killed it. Montreal, Outside. Y'all wasn't outside back then. The whole Same Old song is incredible. The Fall, Next is incredible. Echoes of Silence is an amazing song. This is the Weeknd that I like. And yes, I do want the Weeknd to be happy. I hope today he's in a much better space than he was 10 years ago when he was super depressed. But this is that slow, dark EXO music that me and so many other people love. So around that time, that's kind of when I became a big fan of The Weeknd. I was a senior in high school. I was like 17, 18 years old or something like that. And around that time, he was saying a lot of stuff that I wanted to say, but I didn't really know how to say it. Like, it was this girl I was in love with. Well, I thought I was in love with. Y'all remember high school love. It was this girl, she was doing me wrong. I thought I was in love. And around that time, that's when I was slowly transitioning into that guy that was like, I don't really care about you. Like, you know how they say when you read a book, you get lost into that world? That was me when I discovered The Weeknd and I got lost in this world that he was building. It might be nostalgia, I don't know, but this project comes in at number 4. It was moving up and down my list. Like I said, same with Dawn FM. I had Dawn FM earlier ahead of this one, then I moved it back. So if you ask me tomorrow, I might feel differently. But as of right now, Echoes of Silence comes in at number 4. And now we get to the final 3. At number 3, I have Beauty Behind the Madness. Beauty Behind the Madness is the album that catapulted The Weeknd to superstar status, and this is the project that got everyone back on board after being let down from Kissland. This was the album that changed everything. This was the album in which we first saw Abel start to transition into a pop superstar. We get songs like Can't Feel My Face, and then we also get the song in which, in my opinion, it kind of changed the trajectory of The Weeknd's career. In my opinion, you could say The Weeknd before and after this song. What's the song that I'm talking about? I'm sure you probably heard of it. It's called Earned It, from the 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack. In my opinion, that was when The Weeknd started to find that perfect balance. That's when The Weeknd started to figure out the science. And when I say the perfect balance, around this time, this is when I feel like The Weeknd was like, I can still be myself and I can still give my fans these dark lyrics, but what happens when I put these dark lyrics over a more radio-friendly instrumental? And with that balance, we get a song like The Hills, which is about a girlfriend who's cheating on her boyfriend with The Weeknd, and allegedly, that song is about a pop star that he was working with around that time. Wink, wink. Allegedly, I don't know. And then we also get a song like Can't Feel My Face, which we all know is about doing cocaine. And then we also get a song like Tell Your Friends. And it's just around this time, this is when he found that perfect balance. And that allows us to get the songs that we get today. Like, to me, it gets so annoying when I have conversations with people and they say that they hate this new mainstream Weeknd, where if you actually just listen to his lyrics, he's kind of saying the same thing. But this album has so many good songs like Real Life, Often, which is one of my favorites. Obviously a big single like The Hills, Acquainted, Shameless, In the Night. I could go on and on. In the EXO community, I feel like this is one of those albums that's universally loved, because I don't think I've ever met a person and they were like, I don't like this album. Like, this was the album that I was always listening to in college. I got all my college friends hooked on The Weeknd around this time. We had this project on repeat. For my 22nd birthday, we had an EXO House Balloons party and I had a bunch of people sign this sheet, and that was a really good night. I feel like for a lot of people, they would have this album in their top 3, and for me, this comes in at number 3. And now we get to the hard part. We got After Hours and we got House of Balloons. Coming in at number 2, After Hours. This album is my This album is damn near perfect in my opinion. We get great pop records like Blinding Lights, In Your Eyes, Save Your Tears, which is one of my favorite Weeknd songs ever. You get that dark Weeknd with Snow Child, Repeat After Me, Until I Bleed Out. You get those records where he's talking that talk like Heartless and Escape from LA. We get every version of The Weeknd on this project. And like I was saying earlier, the stories and concepts he does, I feel like he's extremely underrated as an artist, because the story he took us on with the music videos for this album was incredible. If you have not watched the music videos, I highly recommend you go on his YouTube channel and you watch the videos in the order in which they were released in. He is so good with music videos. He has so many songs on this album that you can look at and be like, that might be the best Weeknd song ever. Like a song like Snow Child, that's that dark Weeknd that I love, and in the music video he even hints back to some of his older music. And then a song like Escape from LA, and I feel like Blinding Lights broke all types of streaming and Billboard records. This album was so successful. He had 2 #1 records, he had 3 songs in the top 5, he had 5 songs in the top 20, and he even went on to perform at the Super Bowl, which is something that I never would have imagined back in 2011. The fans loved it, the critics loved it. In my opinion, this is a classic album, but this is still not my #1. But if somebody would have told me that this is a #1 album in their opinion, I'm not going to argue with it. I mean, to me, we're splitting hairs here. But for me, it might be nostalgia, but coming in for my #1 is House of Balloons. This is the album that literally changed my life, and I'll never forget coming home from school and coming home to download this album for free on datpiff.com, which is crazy to me. But I remember hearing this project for the first time and just being transported into this world of this Canadian dude that at the time nobody even knew what he looked like. If you're a younger fan, you may not know this, but when The Weeknd first came out, nobody knew what he looked like. He never showed his face. Like, unless you were in Toronto, I don't know if he was doing shows around that time, but for the most part, all we knew him as was this druggy dude that was sleeping with a bunch of women, and he had a beautiful voice. We had this guy that had these extremely vulgar lyrics. He had these dark and slow beats, and it might sound crazy, but at that time, we never really heard anything like that. And we all know that Drake was before The Weeknd, and Drake obviously built that OVO sound around 808s and Heartbreaks, but that dark and slow music at that time was still really new. And what Drake was doing with it, he wasn't doing what The Weeknd was doing. Drake wasn't talking about doing cocaine and having sex with prostitutes. But after The Weeknd dropped that trilogy, if you fast forward, he's one of the main reasons why we have all these R&B clones today. You got all these R&B acts singing over these slow, dark, moody instrumentals. You have all these acts doing all these vulgar lyrics. You have all these R&B acts that now today nobody knows how to spell anymore. People are using numbers and symbols to say their name. But I want you to do me a favor. I want you to look at this track list and name me one bad song. Don't worry, I'll wait. This nigga starts his project off and introduces himself to the world with High for This. Back in 2010, 2011, people weren't making songs like that. I remember exactly where I was sitting the first time I heard a song like What You Need. Glass Tables is a great song. The Morning, nigga. And still to this day, if you ask me, yo Nick, what's your favorite Weeknd song? If you ask me today, tomorrow, it will forever be the first solo Weeknd song that I've ever heard in my life, Wicked Games. That was the first solo Weeknd song that I ever heard. That song is going to be played at my wedding. That song is going to be played on my honeymoon. That song is going to be played at every cookout that I have. That song is going to be played at my funeral. That is one of my favorite songs of all time. The Party and the After Party has one of the best beat switches ever. I still listen to Coming Down after a long night of drinking. Like I said, man, he has so many songs that were kind of like a soundtrack to my life. It was so much that I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to say it, and that's where he came in. Pause. And then we get a song like Loft Music, and I mean, do we even need to talk about it? And then this man ends the project with The Knowing. And when I tell you that I heard this song when I was in high school and I was going through my love drama situation back in the day when I used to be a simp, and to my knowledge, I've never been cheated on that I know of. But when I tell you that I sing this song from the bottom of my heart like it happened to me, bruh, start to finish, this is a perfect project. This album is a classic. This is one of those albums that completely changed the sound of R&B, and it's one of the reasons why R&B sounds good or bad. It's one of the reasons why R&B is what it is today. And if you're a younger fan, I highly recommend you go back. I think Dat Piff is shut down, but I highly recommend you go back and you try to find the original versions of the trilogy, because I do have the hard copy, I do have the CDs, but I'm personally not a fan of the remaster that he did. I still listen to the original copy. I still have access to those files. But to me, that's The Weeknd's best album. That's my personal number one. Your list might be different. And going through all of these albums, honestly, he might be the greatest artist of all time. But thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe if you're new here. We talk about a bunch of different things on this channel. What are your thoughts on my list? I actually need to hurry up and finish this video. I'm recording this on a Saturday and he's set to perform in like 15 minutes. He's performing in Brazil and I think he's going to be performing some new songs, so we're going to see with that. But what are your thoughts on my list? What would your list be? In my opinion, The Weeknd doesn't have any album that I would say is like for sure last. Why does it look like I'm spanking somebody? I don't think The Weeknd has a song that I would say is like for sure last, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Is my list crazy? Is one of my orders, is the selection of my order just completely ridiculous? Did I get something completely wrong? Let me know in the comment section below. But love you guys as always. Tell someone you love them. Until next time, see you in the next life.